the quadratic loop. So in the previous video, what we'll look at is the single loop. So now in the quadratic loop refers to a loop or a nested loops in programming whose time complexity is the order of n squared. Alright, so we're going to be explaining why is it n squared. So meaning the runtime of loop increases quadratically with the size of the input data n. So the quadratic loops are commonly seen in algorithms that involve nested iterations over a dataset. So what are the characteristics of the quadratic loop? So the nested loop, the most common cause of quadratic loop is having one loop inside another, both iterating over the same or related data sets, right? So two-dimension relationship. They often arise when dealing with 2D data structures like matrices or when comparing all pairs of elements in a list. So now let me show you guys why the quadratic loop works on the order of the n square. Now going back to our code here, right? Going back to our code, right? You remember in previous lessons we have done just a single loop, right? So going back to our code, what happens here is this. So if I have, let's assume that I have an array, a variable that is assigned that holds this list. We have two, we have three, we have one, we have six, right? So let me put more. Let me put seven. Let me put seven. Let me put zero. Okay. So now let's assume that once I trade through this list twice, right? So what happens is, so for I in range of starting from zero down to the length of the n, right? So remember what this means. What this means is when I start from zero, right? So then the length of n is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means I start from zero, I equal to 1, sorry, I is equal to 1, I is equal to 2, I is equal to 3, I is equal to 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the 5 iterations this first outer loop we go through, because we're saying that I should start from 0 down to 11. So what if we say I equal to 1? What happens? It means that we are skipping this and I goes 4 times. I go 4 times. What if we say the length of I minus 1? What happens? It means that the length of I, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is 5 minus 1, right? 5 minus 1 will give you 4. Will give you 4. So by default I supposed to be I equal to 0, right? I equal to 0, I equal to 1, like 5 times. But because we are saying the I should start from 1, then length of n minus 1, right? It means that I is going 5 minus 1, which is 4 times, is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I skips this I equal to 4, and then I skip this I equal to 0, which means that I goes what 3 times. I will iterate 3 times, right? What if we say 2 minus 1 down to the length of I minus 2? So what happens, right? So for you to solve this, all you just need to do is, by default, you know that the I is supposed to go 5 times, which is I equal to 0, right? I equal to 1, I equal to 2, I equal to 3, and I equal to 4. I equal to 4, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 4. Now let's solve this. The first thing you need to do is the length, the iterations that you need to consider. So the length of n here is 5. So 5 minus 2 is 3. So 1, 2, 3. So it's keeping I equal to 3 and I equal to 4. Now, this 2 minus 1, right? So 2 minus 1 is still 1. It means that it's still 1. So it means that it's giving this, which means there's 2 iterations, right? It's 2 iterations. So, but when you say 2 minus 0, it means that it's keeping this. It becomes what? 1 iteration. So that is how it works, right? So if you understand this process, when you're given this in the exam, you can be able to understand the number of iterations this will go through. Now, looking at this will only perform I equal to 2, right? That is what it will perform, right? 0, 1, 2, right? This is what will perform. That's what it will perform. So what if we say 3 minus 0 and this a length of n. So now let's analyze this together. By default, we have I equal to 0, right? I equal to 1, I equal to 2, and I equal to 3 up to I equal to 4 by default. Sorry, up to I equal to 4 by default, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is 5 iterations. So now let's do this. So the length of n is 5, right? 5 minus 2 is 3. So 1, 2, 3. So it keeps I equal to 3 and I equal to 4. Now we're left with I equal to 0, I equal to 1, I equal to 2. And we are saying that I should start from 3 because 3 minus 0 is 3. So I should start from 3, right? So it means that nothing will happen, no iteration will be performed here, right? No iteration will be performed there because we are saying that the length minus 2 and we have done that and we're saying this, so no iteration will be performed here. So let's find out if any iteration will be performed here. Remember the aim of this course is Quadratc, but I've not done that yet, but I just want to teach you guys something. So if I say print I, nothing will happen, right? So if I do this, nothing happens. But if I do this, it will only perform one iteration here. You can see it performs only one iteration, which is to just fetch out the index 2 for me, right? You can see, so you can then practice because most of your questions will be on loops, right? And outer loops, on the single loops and the quadratic loop, which is a linear and the quadratic loop. So just you need to practice this, right? Practice how this works, how the iteration works, so you can be able to understand this, right? Because if you can understand this, there's we can easily solve problems as to do list. Okay. Because even dictionary work with lists because dictionary have to do with key value pairs. We should be looking at dictionary too when we're looking at dictionary too on also some of our videos too. Yes, we're looking at dictionary. So now let's do the quadratic. So let me take it back to this and let me take it back to this. Right? So it means that I is equal to 0, I equal to 1, I equal to 2, I equal to 3, and I equal to 4. I equal to 4, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now, what if I want to have an inner loop? So for j in the range, for j in the range of 0 down to the length of n, right? For j 0 down to the length of n, what happens here is by default, j starts from 0, right? By default, when I equal to 0, right? So in the inner loop, when I this is the outer loop I, then j is the inner loop. So when I equal to 0, j will be equal to 0 in the first instance. And also when I is equal to 0 again, j will be equal to 1, right? And also when I is equal to 0 again, j will be equal to 2. And also when I equal to 0, j will be equal to 3. When I is equal to 0, j will be equal to 4. Use j runs 5 times for each I, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You can see j run 5 times for each I. So if you're doing this, I'll do this. So I'll repeat this again. So when I equal to 1, 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 then I'll do again. When I equal to 2, when I equal to 2, when I equal to 2, when I equal when I equal to 2, when I equal to 2. So I'll go again. When I equal to 3, 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 and when I equal to 3. So that is how it keeps on going until I becomes what? I ends at 4. When I equal to 4, 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 when I equal to 4. So you can see why it's quadratic, right? Because n times n. So in here we have total number of 5 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 iterations, right? So it means that it goes 5 times 5. So for each I, the j runs 5 times. For each I, the j runs 5 times. It becomes 25 iterations here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 25 iterations here, right? So we have 25 iterations here in this place here. That's what it means. That's why it's n times n, which is 5 times 5. So it grows. The n grows, right? Now, Let's do something. What if I say j should start from I plus 1, I plus 1, right? Then down to the length of n minus 1. What if I say this? What happens? With the iterations, you go 25 times. So let's solve this. Now you're saying that j should be I plus. So when I is 0, that means the j is 0 plus 1, right? The j is 0 plus 1, which means that the j will start from j equal to 0 and to skip this. So j is 0 plus 1, which means j started from 0, right? So now the length of n minus 1, remember the length of n is 5, right? 5 minus 1, which is 4. That is for j now. 5 minus 1, which is 4, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it's keeping j equal to 4 and to skip this j equal to 0. So it means that when I equal to 0 in the first instance, the outer loop j will run 3 times based on this condition here. So instead of j running 5 times, j run 3 times, right? So um, what if I say I equal to 2, right? And the length of n minus 2. What happens here? So what happens here is if we take it back, let's take it back first. So now I plus 2 and length of n minus 2. Now what if I say this? What happens here is you are saying that in the first instance here is I is 0, right? So it's 0 plus 2, 2, right? And there is length of n minus 2 in the inner loop, which is 5 minus 2, which is 3, which is 1, 2, 3, right? So it keeps j equal to 3 and j equal to 4 first. Now I equal to 2, you're telling me to start from j is equal to 2, right? So it means that only one iteration will be performed here. So when it comes to I equal to 1, what happens? So when it comes to I equal to 1, it means that 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2 is what? Is 3. And you are saying the length of n minus 2, right? So 1 plus 2 is 3. Let's analyze this code. So 1 plus 2 is 3, and length of n minus 2 is what? 5 minus 2 is 3, right? 1, 2, 3, right? So it's remove this when I equal to 1. And now you're saying I plus 1 equal to 3, and you already removed 3 here. That means no iteration will be performed here. So it means that the entire loop here will only run one times. It means that the entire loop here will only run I equal to 1, j equal to 2. We only run one times. So let's find out. So if I say print I and j, or print, like, let me do it very well. Print when I is this, when I is this, then our j is this. So let's find out this. So I'll put a format so we can allow the interpreter to pass in the values. So now this will be the answer. So if you print this, you can see what happens, right? So when I is 0, then our j is 2. You can see when I is 0, then our j is 2. That was our answer. Because we have analyzed this and we have known that the answer will be this. That is what I want you guys to understand, right? Because there are some questions will come like this. I'll ask you, okay, what will be the output of this? So if you understand this, it doesn't take you time to get the answer, right? So that is it, right? So if I do minus 2, it will bring out nothing, right? So because based on the analysis of the code, right? So that is what how the quadratic loop works, right? Despite what n times n, but we're passing a condition here, and then we've analyzed the condition only run one times, right? So you need to practice this, you need to understand how it works, right? You need to practice and you need to understand it. So what if I do this n minus 1? What happens? Now let's analyze this code before we print it out. So it means that when I equal to 0, right? Let's assume that I runs 5 times, because the first thing you need to do is to, before you look at these rules, count the number of times I will run, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it means that I equal to 0, I equal to 1, I equal to 2, I equal to 3, the I equal to 3, I equal to 4, right? So it's 5 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, when I equal to 0, what is our j, right? So let's assume that our j still becomes, our j is equal to 0, right? Let's assume that so I can easily solve that. So our j is equal to 0. our j is equal to 1, our j is equal to 2, our j is equal to 3, our j is equal to 4, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's apply the rules now. All right, let's apply the rules. So we're saying that in the outer loop first, you're saying that I should start from 0 down to the length of n minus 1, which is 5 minus 1, which is 4, which means that, right, 5 minus 1, which is 4, which means that when I equal to 1, right, so it means I equal to 0, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, which means we are skipping I equal to 4 because of this rule here, right? Now, in the inner loop, when I equal to 0, what happens? Right, in inner loop, when I equal to 0, what happens? It means that the length of n minus 2, which is 5 minus 2, which is 3, right? So 1, 2, 3. So you're skipping j equal to 0, j equal to 3, and j equal to 4. Now you come here, I plus 2, in first instance is 0 plus 2, right? It's 0 plus 2, which means j started from 2. So you are skipping this. So the answer still becomes when I equal to 0, j is equal to 2. That should still be the same. The answer remains the same, right? The answer remains the same. Now, that is how you need to analyze your code. That is how you need to do that, right? So you can see that it's very simple. So when I give you something like this, you can be able to tell me the output. Now, let's solve a problem now. Let's solve an advanced problem. So the problem here we'll be solving here, we'll be looking at how we can be able to sort this array. So we're looking at, I'll be teaching you guys bubble sort. I'll be teaching you guys okay, let me teach you guys this first, bubble sort. So now, how does this bubble sort works, right? So it works by comparing these two adjacent number together. Like for instance, we have 2, 3, right? So the first one is 2 less than 3. That's in ascending order. So if 2 is less than if is 2, sorry, is 2 greater than 3. If 2 is greater than 3, then swap the position, and it comes here, it comes to the next one. That's why it keeps on comparing them until the largest number goes to the last index, right? But if you want to learn more of how bubble sort works, you can look at my data structure class in my YouTube video, where you will see how it works. Although I didn't write the code, I just write an algorithm to solve the problem. Right? But with the algorithm, you can be able to understand how the code works, right? So now let's start. Now we have understood the rules of this for loop, right? So the first thing you need to do here is for I in the range of 0 down to the length of n, which means I goes 5 times, which I equal to 0, I equal to 1, I equal to 2, I equal to 3, and then I equal to 4, which is 5 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So now for j in the range of, we're saying that j should start from 0 down to the length of n minus I minus 1. I will explain this. Now, looking at this rule here, right? Looking at this rule here, what happens here is, remember at first, what you need to do is just put the total number of length is 5, right? Just assume that j is running 5 times, which is this. When I equal to 0, j becomes 1. When I equal to 0, j becomes 2. When I equal to 0, j becomes 3. When I equal to 0, j becomes 4, right? Which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Now, you are saying j should run in the length of n minus I minus 1, right? Now, this is how it happens. So the length of n is 5. 5 minus I in this first instance. Remember the I is 0, right? So 5 minus I is 0. 5 minus 1 is 4, right? So it means that j is running what? 4 iterations in the first instance here. So this is out, right? So this is out. So j started from 0, so j runs 4 times for each I. So now let's apply the condition here. So if, right? So if n of j, which we are fetching out the value, right? If n of j is greater than, if n of j is greater than n of j plus 1, right? So what happens? We need to swap them. We need to swap the position. So swapping the position in Python is like this: n of j plus 1 equals to n of j plus 1, then nj. and j. So I've swapped them. So now let's solve this. So when I equal to 1, j equal to 0 here, right? So it becomes the n j equals to 0, which nj is n0, which fetch out for 2, right? Which fetch out 2. Then the nj plus 1 is nj greater than the nj plus 1 is 0 plus 1, which will give you an index 1, which is 3. Is this less than this, right? Is 2 greater than 3, so this is false. This is false. So we move on to the next one. When I equal to 0, j equal to 1, right? So when j equal to 1, so our nj here becomes what? Our nj here becomes what? 3. So is 3 greater than the nj plus 1 is what? 1. Is 2 greater than 1? So this is true. This is true then it swaps the position. So 1 comes here and 3 comes here. 1 comes here and 3 comes into this place. So our new nj what becomes what? 3. So if you're doing here, so when I equal to 0 and j is equal to 2, when I equal to 0 and j equal to 2, so it means that our nj becomes 0, 1, 2, right? 0, 1, 2. So remember that our new nj is 3, not 1, because 1 is already here. So it becomes what? 3. So greater is 3 greater than 6, right? So this is false, right? Nothing happens. So this is false, nothing happens. So now when j becomes 3, right? When j becomes 3, it means that is 6 greater than 0. Is 6 greater than 0, right? So it means this is true. So 6 goes down, 6 takes 0 position, and 0 takes 6 position. That is how it keeps on doing this. It goes back again and starts the iteration over again, right? So in the first iteration, when I becomes 0, the answer will be like this. The list will be like this. The list will be 2, 3. No, the answer will be 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 0, 6. So when I becomes to 0, the answer becomes 2, 1, 3, 6. So when I becomes 1, remember this is a new list now. When I becomes 1, it will still perform the same operation until this is sorted. So let's do it. When I becomes 1, right? Remember we're working with this, not with it, because this is a new list. So when I becomes 1, it compares again. That's how it keeps on comparing them until this 0 will come to this first position, right? This 0 comes to the first position. So if I were to run this for loop here, if I were to run the for loop here, what happens is then at the end of this we'll print the new n. So if we are printing the new n here, it will sort it for us, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 6, right? So that's how it keeps on doing this until this is sorted. Now you have understood the video, right? You have understood the quadratic, the outer loop and the inner loop, the outer and the inner loop. So if you have any question, feel free to ask me in the class or feel free to ask me on YouTube video, right? So thank you and God bless you.